All right, sweet. Let's go ahead and get into it. Sorry, computer's being wonky. All right, sweet. So what we got tonight, we got more Brood War. So Brood War tournament number 6. It is the 5th one that's going to be finishing up here. Brood War tournament number 5 is still ongoing. The weird one thing about Brood War tournament number 6 is we casted the winners bracket semifinals, but we did not get to cast the losers bracket semifinals, as there was a forfeit due to scheduling and some struggles there. So what we do have is we have the finals, which is a best of 5, and it will be between Vile Croissant and Gooseheaded. Gooseheaded is coming in from the winners bracket and will start this with a 1-map win, so a 1-map lead. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first map here is going to be on Polestar. And here we go. So shift tabbing it, we got Vile Croissant up here in the top right as our blue Zerg in our finals for Brood War tournament number 6. And in the top left, we've got Gooseheaded as our red Zerg. Got some fancy ZVZ Brood War action going on. And if we reveal the whole map, Polestar, obviously a 4-player map. Each of the corners are a spawn. A few things to note. We have eggs. Eggs on the ramp that lead down into the natural, eggs at the natural choke. And when it comes to the natural itself, it is in a low ground position. And then the natural third does have a gas on this map. It's not just a mineral only expansion or something like that. So that is good to go. And that's pretty much Polestar in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and see how these players end up playing. Mirror matches are always fun in the sense that you can always compare and contrast the builds that each player is using. And sometimes just get some straight up build order wins out of it. But I especially like it when the compositions for the players are different. But right now, both players just sending their overlords out. Each are going to see one another right now. And so both of them are going to be aware of which corner the other has started in. And it does look like Vile Croissant is the first one to get an expansion up. So his hatchery is going down here at the natural right off the bat. Meanwhile, looks like Gooseheaded is investing in an early spawning pool. Kind of like a 9 pool. And getting an extractor. Spawning pool now going down for Vile. It does look like that Overlord is heading south here for Gooseheaded. So it did look like, I wasn't paying close enough attention to the production tab, but it did look like kind of like an overpool situation. And over on this side, the early hatchery. It does look like Vile did, you know, like an extractor trick or something. He is sitting at 10 of 9 supply. And a third hatchery, oh no, never mind. So the second hatchery for Gooseheaded is actually going in the main base. So this indicates some potential early aggression. Not going for that early expansion. Or maybe anticipating early aggression. I don't know. He did that after he saw this expansion for Vile. So he may be trying to punish that with some early aggression. He's got 4 Zerglings about to pop out. We've got 8 Zerglings about to pop out for Vile. Both players still sitting at the same drone count of 10. Only real difference here is that Gooseheaded is starting to get some gas and is really kind of lacking that second base of mining. Whole lot of Zerglings here from Vile. 8 Zerglings, getting his macro hatchery up in the main base. And then we do have a layer being formed here for Gooseheaded. So it looks like Gooseheaded is really trying to race towards either Hydralisks or Mutalisks. Actually, probably Mutalisks, right? He's getting that layer so he can get that Spire. And he may just end up winning outright unless there's something that Vile can get out that can shoot up. Right now, he's just not in that that build order. He's building the creep colonies, but without an evolution chamber, he can't get a spore colony. And now he still has some time, and he is watching this, right, with the Overlord. So this isn't a secret. None of anything that Gooseheaded is doing is happening behind closed doors, right? It's all open and able to be seen But there's the Spire. So after the Overlord does kind of leave and check out the natural, see if there was an expansion that may have been missed on the initial kind of pass through with the Overlord, the Spire does go down. And so if Goose gets these Mutalisks out, it's going to be a problem. And you can see the race to that evolution chamber. The Vile knowing, okay, my fastest bet to fight this, like I'm not going to get a layer of my own right now, is to get these creep colonies turned into spore colonies and fight this off. Still a decent amount of Zerglings here at the front. Just holding that. We really haven't seen any Pokins from either player. More creep colonies going down around the minerals of both of Vile's bases. And we have the spore colonies starting to be formed. So the Overlord is seeing the Spire about to finish up. Those Mutalisks likely to get produced in rapid succession. You can see the gas that's been kind of just banked up for Gooseheaded. And there we go. Boom. 3 Mutalisks right off the rip. There's a 4th. And I imagine we'll probably continue to see these. Now, we'll have to see how effective these spore colonies are at pushing the Mutalisks away. But even the forcing of making these is a big economic investment here for Vile, right? He had to use those drones to get those set up. He had to spend the time to get the spores instead of Sunkens. And so in the event that this Mutalisk attack doesn't do much, he'll just transition into Hydralisks or something, and all of these spore colonies will essentially be a little bit of a waste, with the exception that they're detectors, but every Overlord's a detector too. Goose taking the time, knocking out the Overlord over here. I don't know if that was the same one that was down here. It probably was, looking at the supply block that is happening on Vile's side. He's currently sitting at 28 of 27. So that just adds a little bit of insult to injury at kind of the point that we're at right now. Vile does have a good, healthy drone count. And he does have a good amount of spore colonies, but we'll see how they hold up to these Mutalisks. Now, they do pack a pretty good punch. Let me try to find one as it's taking damage. Like, this one's already lost 2/3 of its health. The spore colonies do eat through these Mutalisks pretty hard. But effectively, he's contained in here, and I'm wondering what the next play is. Vile's got a little bit of money. He can't mine everything out here because the Mutalisks will come in, and the Mutalisk numbers are just growing. I think this is the time now that Gooseheaded is feeling comfortable enough to take an expansion. He has Vile really kind of contained up here. And there we go with the Hydralisk Den. So the spore colonies will buy some time, get the Hydralisk Den out. He is healthy on drones at the moment, and then he can just use a lot of this larva to get the Hydralisks up and push these Mutalisks away. Okay, Hydralisk Den is up. We do have +1 missile attacks being upgraded, and I imagine as larvae become available and primarily gas becomes available, he'll start pumping out some Hydralisks. Now, in the event that these Mutalisks get pushed away, what else is going on for Gooseheaded? So Gooseheaded has a good amount of Zerglings, but he's really just continuing to produce Mutalisks and Overlords. He's just continuing with this this attack, and I think that's fine. Once this next hatchery gets up, that'll be kind of the bigger turning point for Goosehead, and we'll see if he can drone up a little bit, kind of bolster the economy that he's competing with right now. Alright, Hydralisks are out. Being picked off here by the Mutalisks. They need to mass up a little bit. These 3 spore colonies, that is pretty powerful, and a 4th one on the way. Mutalisks continuing to eat up these Hydralisks as they're popping out, kind of onesie-twosie. Might get this spore colony. Glaives are bouncing off a little bit, but only 6 Mutalisks over here remain. A few more coming in, kind of continuing the trickle. 2 more in production. And now we have that additional hatchery, and we do see a little bit of droning being mixed in for Gooseheaded as well. We also have a drone down here at the 3rd base, so may see another expansion from Gooseheaded. And Vile still kind of leading the drone fight, but not the biggest army. He's starting to mass up the Hydralisks, and we do kind of see Mutalisk production slow down. I guess it's still going. for Goose. I'm curious to see if he continues this Mutalisk production for a lot longer. I'm curious to see how far this goes. Maybe he'll get to Hive and I don't know, go Guardians or something like that. Or maybe he'll just try to power through. If he kills this Spore, he'll have a lot of access to some of these tech buildings, to include the Hydralisk Den, I think. I don't know what the range is here. But he might be knocking that out. Ooh, one more shot! Can he get it? Can he get it? Get it! Okay, so the Mutalisks take out the Hydralisk Den. That is going to be really frustrating. That has at least shut down production of anything that can move and shoot up. So Vile has been brought back into the Stone Ages and really is relying on the coverage of these 6 Spore colonies, which is a bit tough. Third base going down for Gooseheaded. And we have the Hydralisk Den being produced again, this time way up in the top right corner where Vile believes that it will be safe. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if he can hit this directly. I know he's shooting in the larva and the glaives are bouncing off. Okay, so this is out of range of these Spore colonies, which is a little unfortunate. With, you know, some dedicated focus and attention, he can just sit here and knock this hatchery out. Ooh, picking off more Hydralisks. The supply is starting to really separate here. Up at 69 for Gooseheaded, a third mining hatchery. And the drone count is about even. Okay. Good Hydralisk push here by Vile. Really needed to do that to push away these Mutalisks. He's going to come out here and actually pick off an Overlord. Maybe 2. No, he does run home. Sitting here with 9 Mutalisks. A few more on the way. Ooh, and now he's going to incorporate some Zerglings. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the Sunkens and forcing, not the Sunkens, the Spore colonies and forcing those, is that transition for Mutalisk. So instead of the transition for Mutalisk, we're just incorporating the Zerglings that he had around. But same idea. There's not going to be any Sunkens to help deal with them. Now, he'll have the Hydralisk. He has some Zerglings of his own. But I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. Big fight taking place. The Mutalisks are just ripping a lot of these Hydras to shreds. And now that the Zerglings have powered through, now retreating back to this one Sunken, that is helping a lot. That is eating up the Zerglings that were there on the front. But overall, a good engage for Gooseheaded, I think. He's sitting here with 11 Mutalisks. Does take out the hatchery at the choke, which was a little bit of an unfortunate placement of either the Spores or that hatchery because of the range and the ability of the Mutalisk to really deal a lot of damage there. So, building that macro hatch back up here in the main and getting a layer of his own, Vile is continuing to tech up. Honestly, Vile's been holding this really well. Goose is kind of expanding out on the map. I do like Gooseheaded's position right here. But as far as tech, all he's got is these Mutalisks. So once the Spire comes up for Vile, the game's going to shift on its head a little bit. He's going to have a ground army of Hydralisks. And if he decides, he maybe will just get a bunch of Scourge and just like tear this up. We'll have to see. Mass Hydralisk, though, definitely being effective. He doesn't have any map control at the moment, but I think this is the point in the game where we may see him breaking out a little bit. He's actually going for a push, and I like this a lot. It's forcing some Sunkens, forcing some Zerglings. The Mutalisks, there's only 11 of them. He's got a whole bunch of Hydralisks up here. Now he's going to try to delay. Ooh, I don't think he was actually aware of where they were. Loses a couple Mutalisks. And now he's going to try to find some weak ones, pick off reinforcements. Now he is one-shotting these. That's made quick work there of those 4 that were straggling behind. Now in production, we do have flyer attacks being upgraded. I think this is +2 for, yeah, ground missiles. Yeah, so this will be +1 for the air. Okay, now the Hydralisks are pushing in. Now the Zerglings are getting up in their face. The Sunkens are pushing out a lot of damage. And I don't think that this attack is going to be successful. We have Mutalisks coming from the right and potentially from the left here, hitting these Hydralisks on the retreat. And still, 8 of them from that main force. This is going to be driving Vile all the way back home. Now, Gooseheaded has a lot of money to work with if he wanted to dump some cash. He's got 3 of these mining bases to the 2 of Vile. I do like that Vile pushed out, though. And behind it, he did expand, but I don't think that this expansion is going to live for very long. It's just going to be tough to defend with, what is this, 7 Hydralisks? Yeah, this is going to have to either be canceled or it will get destroyed. So, looks like it was destroyed, bringing a few Zerglings and Hydralisks to try to help out, but a little too late. Vile does throw in GG, and that brings Gooseheaded up to 2-0 in this series, this finals for Brood War number 6. I always have to be slow on that menu as well, because I always accidentally exit program. Not a good idea. Alright, let's create game. Up 1 level. Alright, game 2. Game 2, Goosehead up 2-0 in the series. Next map is going to be Deja Vu. Vile Croissant, blue Zerg in the bottom right. Goosehead, our red Zerg in the bottom left, leading 2-0 in this best of 5 series. Go ahead and take a look at the map real quick. So this is Deja Vu. This is Deja Vu. Main base. Nice sized main base. It does have eggs on the ramp, which are annoying for everyone. Natural, as you descend the main base, and a relative size choke. Nothing crazy here. The key features of this map include this third base, which has kind of a bridge and a ramp. But it does have a gas, right? So not a mineral only third base. And then the donut of elevated terrain that goes around the center of the map is kind of the big piece of key terrain on Deja Vu. A lot of army staging, a lot of fights occurring in this particular area, and then once third bases start being thrown into the account right here as well. So a couple key areas to control, and we'll see how this one plays out. So if we look at how we think this one's going to go, last game what we saw is we saw Vile go into kind of, I think it was hatchery first, actually, and then he built his spawning pool. What we saw from Gooseheaded was an overpool into macro hatchery, into lair, into very early spire, and then just pretty much made meterless the whole game. Vile was kind of thrown on the back foot by the meterless play. He did see it because the Overlord. We have similar spawns in this situation as well, and ended up going mass Hydralisks. Did a really solid push last game as well, but ultimately fell to Vile's kind of like early Mutalisk pressure that just did so much damage, and that was relentless throughout. So if we take that and we go into this game, we see a little bit of a later pool from Vile, and from Goose, and Vile is going into an extractor, which we didn't see for a while last time. So a little bit of a mix-up from both players. Now, both players have confirmed locations. They know where each other are. And we do have Vile with the earlier expansion again. Now, we see Goose putting down his macro hatchery in the main base. This is the second time we've seen this in this matchup. He actually waited a really long time to get his natural base last time. And we thought that that was going to be an indicator of hyper-aggression early on, but not really. It was kind of just like a rush to Mutalisks. So maybe if you count that hyper-aggressive, then it was, but it still took a while to build up. We'll see if Vile moves out earlier this time. I don't think Vile had actually really gotten much of an attack off up until he was able to push the Mutalisk out of his base, get up a critical mass of Hydralisks, and then move across the map. So this looks very similar to what we saw last game. He took his Zerglings, he clogged up the ramp, he made about 14 of them over the time, and then he went straight to lair, he threw his Spire down back here, and he just pumped Mutalisks. Now, if this is red again, which it will be seen, probably before lair pops out. Okay, and there we have it. So this is the difference that what we saw last game from Vile. Vile didn't have this extractor until a long time. He made a lot of Zerglings, a lot more than he did this time. But now he's actually pushing to layer quickly, and he's also still getting that Evo Chamber. So the Evo Chamber will help if he needs to build some Spore colonies, but I think he's going to prepare more heavily for this Spire play with his own Spire. That would be my guess here. But maybe not if he's going the Evo. Show me something, guys. Alright, so he is just preparing some creep colonies instead. And we see the Spire for Gooseheaded. So the timer is on. We know that the Mutalisks are going to be on their way. But this time, yeah, Vile's not screwing around. He's just going straight to it. And he was more prepared this time. But the weird thing about being more prepared this time is last time he had a lot more drones. He didn't start building these spore colonies until he was already at 20-something drones, I think. I think he had a much healthier economy than he does now. So forcing these out of Vile early, I think is actually damaging the economy more than it did last time. Because right now, Goose is actually higher on drones, and that wasn't the case last game for the vast majority of it until Goose was on 3 bases, I think. Okay, well, let's see how this goes. We have another creep colony going down. We'll see if Vile ends up going Hydralisk Den. Boom. 5 Mutalisks, all morphing at the same time. I feel like we ran out of music. I guess there's some sound effects there. So this Overlord's going to get completely killed. This one might get chased down. Last game, we saw Gooseheaded going and chasing down Overlords. Now, okay, so there's the first Overlord. We're at 24 of 18. Last game, we were at like 24 of whatever it was, 26. Or whatever it was, 29 of 26. But he's about to lose another one. This looks like a complete repeat of last game. 23 of 10. That's rough. That's going to force more Overlords. God dang, Mutalisks are so annoying. Okay, now, Gooseheaded is throwing down this second base way sooner than last game. And I like to see that. I like to see that adjustment. And even though Vile was more mentally prepared, I think, this game, I don't see him... I guess the Spore Colonies, they were really effective last time. Especially in 3s like this. And he's going Spire of his own. So we didn't see the Spire from Vile until way later in the game last round. He really tried to push with those Hydralisks. He eventually made a Spire, but we didn't see anything come from it. I think. Pretty sure we saw one. Because I remember talking about potentially like Scourge coming out or whatever. Getting a jump on him. Yeah, these Spore Colonies, they pack a wallop. 15 damage. Just smacking these Mutalisks around. A lot of them are very low right now. Now, Vile has been banking up a ton of gas. And he's got 6 Mutalisks on the way. So, Mutalisks combined with these Spores, he might get the jump on these, actually. Now, there's 8 here, but I don't think he was prepared for Mutalisks of his own to show up. Now, he did get the first volley there, and that's huge, but he pulls him into the Spore colonies. They are taking so much damage. Oh, no, but there's a whole train of Zerglings coming in. There is no Sunkens, but he does have Zerglings of his own. But he's also got Mutalisks of his own. But the supply is so heavily in Gooseheaded's favor. Now, unfortunately, Vile has so much gas. So much gas. And where he's light is on the minerals. And I think that's a little bit of a result of the harass going on at the natural. Okay, good push out here with these Mutalisks. No! Gooseheaded's Mutalisks are just tearing these ones up. And Goosehead's position looks very strong. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier as well. Just like I always do with this map. I mean, this map has like a couple really big like battlefields. It's right here. Like owning this piece of terrain decides most games. And then also like this when trying to take care of these natural thirds. Triangle thirds, whatever you want to call them. Okay, Scourge. Now if they can connect, there we go. Like that's efficiency in the making. But they have to connect. Ooh, he does a little run around. He's hitting the midair. Ooh, but we get some connections there. Now he snipes another Overlord that drops him to 40 of 34. So Vile is supply blocked again. But Vile's putting up a fight. Softened him up with the Scourge, bringing his own Mutalisks in. Now I think we might be into a... No, I was going to say we were in an upgrade disparity, but not necessarily. Now Gooseheaded is getting +1 flyer upgrades, but they haven't showed up yet. Zergling battle going on the ground. If he can snipe one of these spore colonies, that would be huge for him. But the Zerglings do get cleaned up. Now Goosehead is running away with the game a little bit when it comes to drone count. So very similar to last game, Vile needs to break out relatively soon and start expanding across the map or doing some counter damage if he has hopes in this match. But with these spore colonies, it is a really tough position to break. So Gooseheaded is clearly satisfied with kind of the contain and then coming in, getting information, picking off what he can. This is a tough spot for Vile. ZVZ is unforgiving. Here we go. Mutalisk dying left and right. Okay, Vile trying to pull him into some more spore colonies. He goes over here. He's going to get that Overlord. See, what happens is these Overlords, they get grouped up with the Mutalisks so that they can do this cool stacked micro. But then they end up following him around and sometimes get themselves in precarious situations. So, okay, weird thing happened. So that puts Goosehead 3-0 for the series. But we have more games. So I don't know if I watch these out of order or if, which has happened in other finals previously, the players just played out all of the games. So we have more games, and let's get into them. So that was the second one. Let's go into game number 3. And this one's on Dominator again. So it looks like they played their matches. Goosehead won the series, won the finals. He is the champion of Brood War number 6. Now both these players do promote to level 2 in StarCraft Underground. And then they are opting to play. Actually, they didn't play Dominator yet. So they are just playing through all the maps. And I don't know if I'm watching them out of order or what, but we have this round and then another round that we can watch from these two players. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is Dominator. Dominator is a 3-player map. We have the 11 o'clock expansion, which is vacant. We have, or main rather, we have the 3 o'clock, which is where our red Zerg Goosehead is spawning. And then down here in the 7 o'clock position, we have Vile, our blue Zerg. Now the last 2 games from Gooseheaded, we saw rushes into Mutalisks. We saw him going up to about 12 drones, or making an Overlord, going to 12 drones, getting an extractor, getting his spawning pool, getting a second hatchery in the main, and then going straight to lair. Vile has been playing early expansion the past 2 games. Now, the first game, the Mutalisks, I think, caught him off guard, and he was able to recover with some spore colonies, but eventually the Mutalisk harass just warmed down. The second game, he went for a much earlier layer, got a Spire of his own, and we kind of saw an air battle that took place that Gooseheaded was able to come out on top. Okay, spawning pool, extractor. We are seeing this on 9 supply. The early expansion again. We'll see if he does macro hatch in base or not. Spawning pool is going down for Vile. as well as an extractor. Okay, so we are going to likely see an earlier layer than the first game. First game, it seemed like Vile was really trying to win the Zergling fight, and the Zergling fight never came. So this time, Gooseheaded playing it differently. Gooseheaded making more Zerglings. And I'm wondering if this is a map choice. And he's sending these to the correct location because his Overlord has already come up to the 11 o'clock and scouted where he's not. So he knows. That's one of the benefits of a 3-player map. I wouldn't doubt that this is a map decision by Gooseheaded. On the previous 2 maps, we saw him clog up the ramp with the Zerglings early on. That was probably because there was eggs present at both of those. And this looks like it might be just GG. He's going to get some Zerglings out of his own. This hatchery is going to take a lot of damage. We'll see if he's probably going to need to pull some drones here. No, maybe. Okay, so he has some Zerglings. Okay, he's going to get a nice surround on the ramp. Ah, potentially not. More Zerglings coming in for Gooseheaded. Good engage here for Vile. Vile's going to be able to defend this. More Zerglings being halted en route as Gooseheaded starts kind of resupplying his army with more and more Zerglings. Now, I don't know. We'll see if Vile continues to produce. He is. He's also getting speed on the way. So speed's going to finish up here in just a moment. And his Zerglings are going to be far superior to Goosehead's. I like Vile's position. Now, he is starting to lose some drones, but that was only just one. In these engagements, he definitely has more Zerglings present, and speed is about to click on. Once that upgrade is complete, I think Vile is going to be able to clean these up and run across the map. And at the very least, it's going to force some, probably some Sunkens to get made, maybe, if this can get done in time. Okay, speed is complete now for Vile. He has allowed a couple of these Zerglings in the main. Drones doing what they can, sitting at 6 drones for Vile. And now his Zerglings are just running across the map. See, like, he's going to be able to clean this up. He's comfortable with this. There's one Zergling there. These 2 are going to clean it. And we just have a field of blue running across the mini-map. And I don't think there's going to be enough here for Goose to survive this. He is trying to race to get a Sunken down here in the main. But this hatchery for sure is going to go down. I like the Vile split off some to kind of clog up this ramp, too. Sending more Zerglings across. He just has more. He just has more. This is going to be it for Vile. So I think I know what happened, actually. I think if the players didn't know that Goosehead had started with 1 map win, technically they would think that they're at 2-1 right now. So Vile just won this round. We have another round to go. So let's go into game 4. So technically, with the map win for making it from the winner's bracket, Goosehead is at 3-1. This next map is going to be on Metropolis. And I like this map. Metropolis is a good time. Alrighty. Go ahead and look at the map here for a second. So up here in the top left is the 4-player spawn map. There's 4 spawns. We do have Vile, who just won the last game with overwhelming Zerglings. And in the bottom left, we have our Red Zerg Goose coming over from the winner's bracket. Currently have won 2 maps in this series. Vile's won 1. And then the 2 vacant positions here in the top right and the bottom right. Metropolis, some of the key portions of terrain, doesn't matter as much in ZVZ, but you have kind of these large areas that extend from the main base, which are very droppable. And you have a lot of room behind these mineral patches. And when it comes to Zerg and these mineral patches, these are great spots to drop some lurkers, anything that can harass the mineral lines can get stuck here and do a lot of damage. On the ramp, instead of eggs, we have minerals, which is a much better design choice, in my opinion. They don't seem to mess with the AI as much, and you can mine them out. There's 16 minerals per patch. And it was crazy. I don't remember who it was, but I think it was a ZVZ, or it was at least a Zerg player. And they actually brought workers with them. It was like a high-level pro match. They brought workers with them and mined this out to extend the surface area for their Zerglings to come up and finish the battle. So that was kind of cool. I wonder if we're going to see something like that in this game. But anyway, let's go ahead and put this Fog of War back on. We do have this Overlord heading to the top right, which we know no one is at. And we have Gooseheaded's Overlord heading to the correct location in the top left, ready to scout Vile. Now, Vile is sending a second Overlord, so even if this Overlord thought he was going to see, some creep and turn around real quick and be cheeky, it's not going to happen. Vile's Overlord is going to run into it, and they'll both know the location of the other. Spawning Pool and Extractor going down early for Vile. This is a little bit of a change. We haven't seen an Extractor this early for Vile yet in this series. Normally, he goes expansion first and then throws down a spawning pool or something along those lines. What's up, Goose? Thanks for the follow. And then for Goose, this is more of the standard of what we've seen. So last game, he didn't throw down this macro hatchery in the main base. But he still went earlier extractor, got his early spire, and, well, actually, he went layer. I think we got to the layer portion, but then the Zergling fight went crazy. He was really pushing for the Zergling fight on Dominator, which made sense on that map. But here's kind of, okay, so this is another situation where, like the first two games, the ramp to the main had obstacles. So this one has the minerals. He's throwing the Zerglings over here to clog it up. I think we're going to see kind of the standard game plan there. The macro hatch, the layer's going to go up. We're going to get the spire. He's going to bank up somewhere around 600 gas. He's going to throw down 5 Mutalisks. He's going to go out. He's going to kill an Overlord, kill a second Overlord, supply block, and rush in. Calling it now. But the difference here is that we're seeing the same build from Vile. And we haven't seen this yet from him. So right now we have mirrored builds. So it's really going to come down to that Mutalisk micro. And the interesting thing here is that against air, we've been seeing Vile do a lot of spore colonies. I don't think we're going to be seeing spore colonies this round. It's really going to come down to who is better with the Mutalisks, who can micro them, who can do more damage with it and make something happen. Hey, thanks, Raz. Appreciate the follow. All right. Spire going down. I think it was probably seen by Goose. Ooh, it wasn't seen, but he's doing the same build. So he's going to come over here. He's going to check that natural. He's going to probably see that there's nothing there and expect something very similar. He's going to run his Zerglings across. See if he can get some damage done with that. He's going to see all of these, though. So really, I think this is more of a prevention measure for any type of expansions, and also just additional vision. Now the Spire timing is going to come down a little bit earlier here for Vile. He's got about 5 Mutalisks worth banked up. He's got the larva for it. And so there it is. So 5 Mutalisks coming out for Vile. And now the Overlord's going for a little bit of a run. Now we can see that the other Overlord for Vile has already made its way back home, and this one's trying to get out of dodge as well. Vile even making another Overlord, and I like this because he's probably going to lose that one, and he still won't be supply blocked with this 6 Mutalisks coming out. So 5 Mutalisks being made by Goosehead, and now we're going to see a dogfight. And I missed it. But it looks like potentially these Zerglings were killed over here from these Mutalisks, which definitely slowed them down a bit. Okay, so Gooseheaded is currently supply blocked from an Overlord going down. These Mutalisks coming in, getting the first shot on the initial 5 of Goose. And that's where that extra Overlord came into play right there that Vile made. He's still not supply blocked, so he can continue to pump Mutalisks. Oh man, this is just an absolute micro fight. And I can't tell who has how many, so they're just gonna glaive each other like crazy, and Goose comes out on top. Okay, so after that cloud of glaives, we've got 4 Mutalisks coming across the field for Goose. A drone here ready to make a natural expansion for Vile. Vile a little bit low on the Mutalisk count. And we have Zerglings in the base. Oh no! They just ran right in. These Zerglings weren't paying attention. The Mutalisks will clean this up, but this is going to do some serious economic damage to Vile, especially in these low drone count games. Where, you know, losing 1 drone at this point is like losing 10% of your economy. Okay, he's fixing his gas. There's a little bit of running around from the Zerglings. It looks like an unintentional stop there. Getting the drones mining again. And so we have 4 Mutalisks, 3 up here for Vile. Vile's currently supply blocked a little bit. He did lose a bunch of Overlords to these Mutalisks in that whole scuffle. And yeah, and Vile throws in the GG. So I think what happened here during this series was they came into it not knowing Goose had that initial map win. My hands are shaking. Yeah, that was a great series. So congratulations to Gooseheaded for winning those finals. And I've still got a little bit of energy. So we have a lot of matches to cast. So let's go into another series. The Goose is loose. Yeah, the Goose definitely made it happen. All right, so that was the Brood War 6 finals.